Hello all and welcome to our daily news show, The Big Story, where we talk about the hottest topics of today right in the heart of the newsroom. I'm Kimberly Jiao coming to you live from the Straits Times, and we are streaming on YouTube and Facebook, so do leave us a comment, like and share it with your friends, as well as hit that bell to be told whenever we go live. I'll be joined by a couple of my newsroom colleagues to talk about what got you talking today. Our first story, a man who has been rescued from a burning flat last Thursday has died in hospital. The SCDF said on Saturday that preliminary investigations indicated that the fire was linked to 3 burnt personal mobility devices, that's PMDs, in the unit. And yesterday, the fire that broke out in Ang Mo Kio HDB flat was also caused by a PMD that was left to charge in the kitchen. The Straits Times has written a follow-up about the dangers of PMD-related fires. And with me to discuss this today is SC journalist Kara Wong. Hello. So we understand there have been multiple PMD-related fires. So what exactly happened?
Well, okay, so the thing with PMD fires is that most of them happen during charging or shortly after charging. So what is likely to be the case for these few cases is that some of the owners leave it charging for too long, so they overcharge it, and it gets worse if they buy shoddy PMDs with shoddy batteries, and or if they try to modify the batteries themselves. So either one or a combination of these factors could cause the PMD to just explode and cause a fire.
I see. So that's very scary. So let's talk about fire safety. What can PMD users do to sort of prevent this, and what are the other people who don't own PMDs, what can they do about fire safety in their own homes?
Okay, well, for PMD owners, firstly, don't do silly things like overcharge your PMDs and leave it unattended, or don't modify your PMDs, or just buy a good quality one, not a shoddy one. Let's see, in terms of preventing fires, it's always helpful to keep a fire extinguisher at home, and to get a home fire alarm device, which is a smoke detector or heat detector. So the fire extinguisher obviously can help manage a small fire, because it takes on average about 3 minutes before a fire starts to spread, before it starts getting too dangerous for you to extinguish it on your own. So you can actually minimize the damage.
I see. And this 3-minute number is the 3 minutes before it starts spreading.
So it's 3 minutes when it starts to spread before it starts getting too dangerous for you to handle it on your own.
I see. So that's like the magic number, so to speak.
Yeah, sort of.
And there's also the issue about buying insurance?
Yes. So what a lot of homeowners don't realize, especially if you're an HDB homeowner, is that the basic HDB fire insurance you get doesn't cover your home contents. So it's always useful to buy extra home contents insurance to insure everything in your house, like your renovations, your furnishings, your belongings, basically everything in the house that belongs to you. You have to get additional insurance.
I see. So the basic plan doesn't cover this thing called home contents, and that's what you just mentioned.
Yes.
Clothes, your renovations, your furniture, everything not covered.
Not covered, yeah.
I see. So do go and check at home about your insurance if you have to, and stuff like getting sort of a fire extinguisher, like you mentioned, right? This seems kind of basic almost. Are people not doing it?
People just think that it doesn't really happen to them, because the odds are honestly not that high, but it's always useful to have it on hand, because you never know when it might happen. And when it happens, you're like, okay,
it's too late.
Yeah, it's too late.
It's like it's an oh no moment. And in the case of this insurance?
Oh, yes. So for insurance, most people, I don't think they realize how basic level this insurance is. So it doesn't extend to home contents, as I mentioned. So basically everything that's provided for by the HDB is covered under your HDB fire insurance, but not anything else, which makes it even more dangerous, because basically you're not going to be able to claim for any of the damaged goods.
I see.
Yeah.
So this is going to seem a little bit obvious maybe to some people, but just in case, touch wood, if something happens to your home, or touch wood, something happens to your neighbor's home, what can they do? Okay,
well, firstly, shout, tell people there's a fire, because the fire is everyone's business, it's everyone's responsibility when it happens, right? Second, if you can, try to extinguish it with a fire extinguisher or blanket that can throw over it. And if you can't, just get out of there. Close the door if you can, because it can help contain the fire and the fumes. And call 995.
995.
Yeah.
So the SCDF number is, let's clarify for everybody,
yes.
995.
Yes,
it is not 999. Okay, so it's better to be prepared and to stay vigilant. So everybody stay safe out there. Thanks, Kara, for sharing more with us.
Thank you.
To keep up with more stories like this, do stay tuned to our website, www.straitstimes.com. Our second story, for decades, law and medicine courses here have been filled with JC graduates, but this is starting to change with more Polytechnic graduates making a presence in these two fields of study. With us to discuss this today is education correspondent Amelia Ting. Hi Amelia. So let's get to numbers, because this is a lot of numbers are being thrown around this article. So what are the specific numbers here, and is it considered a significant increase?
So there are no huge leaps in terms of the proportions, but the increasing numbers of Polytechnic graduates in these two top courses are they are significant enough to be noticed. So since 2016 for SMU Law, about 5 to 10 Poly grads made it to SMU Law every year. This is up from about 1 in the years before that. And for NUS School of Medicine, they have now about 50 students across the 5 years of studies in medicine. This is compared to 22 in 2015.
Wow.
Yeah, so these numbers may not seem very big, but they are pretty significant because it's only in recent years where they just started to admit Poly grads into these two courses. And if you look back, the first Poly graduate that NUS Law took in was in 2005, and the first pair of Poly grads who got into NUS Medicine was in 2007.
So quite recent actually.
Yeah.
So what is the impact of this? Positive, negative, whatever?
So I think there can only be positive impact from this recent trend. Some people may think that admitting more Poly grads means there's a lowering of standards, but I think that's a misconception because the Poly grads who enter these two courses are those that usually get like near perfect GPAs. They do very well in their studies. They just chose a more hands-on path, and more often than not, they already have some prior experience and knowledge of the biomedical sciences because they have gone on internships or attachments with some of the hospitals. I think also another positive outcome is the greater diversity in these two professions, because it's not just for the sake of numbers, but in time, hopefully, these people are going to graduate to become our doctors and lawyers, and we hope that they will have a diverse sense of opinions, experiences that they come with, compared to someone who has scored straight A's all their lives and maybe is from one of the top JCs.
Right, so like a smooth path, let's have someone different, for example. Yeah. So if you can provide a real life example, you actually wrote a story on a Poly graduate called Darren Leong, who made it into Yonglin, sort of NUS's School of Medicine. What was it like talking to him? Okay,
so Darren, he's an example of a student who took maybe a longer time to figure out what he wanted, to find out what, how to do well in his studies, partly because of his family circumstances. And we often don't have control over what life chooses to hurl at us. And for him, he had to deal with his mom's death. And she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer when he was in primary 5, and a year later she passed on. And that was also the same year he took his PSLE, and he didn't do well in it. He barely made it to the normal academic stream with a score of 156. And but that was also the time when he chose to pull himself together to just prove to people that he could study, and he made it to Poly, and then he went on to surprise himself that he got into NUS Medicine, and also he didn't dare to tell people about it because for fear that people would think that he could not make it. Also during the interview, I was struck by two things that he said, which was also in the story. He said that, to quote him, on the day of the interview for NUS Medicine, he was surrounded by many students from the top junior colleges, and when he said he was from Polytechnic, he felt rather small. At the same time, he tried to put those fears aside and think of himself as an equal applicant. And another thing he said was that he hoped more Poly students can enter NUS Medicine, as he felt they would be able to connect better with patients who didn't have that smooth pathway in life. And I think what he said was pretty true. Some of these Poly graduates may not have had a good head start in their education. They didn't have a good start because of different reasons. Some financial, some they had faced hardships or met certain setbacks in life. Some just chose a different, more applied way of learning. And the hope is that these doctors, aspiring doctors, would continue to stay grounded because of what they have gone through, and perhaps be able to identify better with their patients in future.
I see. So this increase is good news, right? So moving forward, are we going to be expecting a more equal ratio of the two?
The short answer is no. I don't think there will be a 50-50 ratio even in the future, because the JC route is still primarily headed for university, and for these two courses especially, the bulk of the students are still going to be from the good JCs. But I think it's just encouraging that in recent years, these top courses have, which have been the stronghold of JC graduates from like the likes of Raffles and Hwa Chong, have actually opened their doors to Polytechnic graduates who are just as good as their JC peers, who have the same aptitude and ability and can perform like as well as their JC peers.
I see. Well, hopefully we're going to get more aspiring doctors and lawyers from all different walks of life in the future. Thanks for sharing more with us, Amelia. So those were our top stories of the day. If you would like more news and videos, do head on to our website. That's www.straitstimes.com. Once again, I'm Kimberly Jiao. Thank you for watching The Big Story, and we'll see you tomorrow.